Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com. What's up, iTunes, Podomatic, Spotify, and of course everyone at home watching YouTube. Welcome to During the End Phase, a Yu-Gi-Oh podcast where I will be joined by Joe, that side, and Donald, that side, for today's episode. Now, on today's episode, we are going, as we do with every other episode, we structure it as a turn of Yu-Gi-Oh! So in the standby phase, we bring you our ones to watch, which each member of the podcast will bring you one card that is market watch, either rising or falling in value, and then a tech card or deck for either the upcoming format or a deck that is just incredibly fun to play. We then move on to our main phase where we bring you a top 3 subject. This week will be our top 3 XYZ cards. So we can do it as... We're going to do it as our personal top 3 rather than the top 3, because by doing it as the top 3, as you can personally imagine, it'll pretty much always end with Zeus. Then we'll move into our battle phase, and on today's episode we're going to discuss a subject that we haven't done for a long time, and usually we discuss decks. So instead of discussing one specific deck, we're actually going to talk about TCG exclusives. We'll explain how they work, how we get them in the TCG first, and then what happens when the OCG gets them, and how the OCG kind of dictate how powerful that particular TCG exclusive will be. Then we'll move into our main phase 2, and we usually review an upcoming product for the month. And next month, of course, towards right at the end, is when we get the Megatins 2021. So we'll discuss all of the stuff that is, all of the sets that are being covered within that set, what you could possibly see as reprints, and the type of rarities. Then we'll move into the end phase where we will wrap up the show and kind of go from there. So with all of that out of the way, don't forget you can download this on Spotify, iTunes, or Podomatic and take it with you. Or, of course, watch us on YouTube or listen in the background as well. Now, let's start with our standby phase and, of course, our ones to watch. So the ones to watch, as I've just explained, each week the members of the podcast will bring you a market watch card that is either rising or falling in value, and a tech card or deck for you to be looking out for of the upcoming format. So, as last week we started with Joe, this week let's start with you, Donald. What is your market watch card for this week?
So for my market watch card for this week is the Stellar Wind Wolf Freyet, the level 9 synchro from Dawn of Majesty. As always, using card market to look at the values and price. So it seems to be about 2 weeks ago, I was settling around the €3 mark, 3.5 euro mark, and then has suddenly spiked up to 9.5 euros, and it's now starting to drop up a bit down to the €7 mark. So what I'm going to say with this one, if you got one, try and sell them off while they're like this sort of spike in price as they are. Otherwise, if you got one copy, honestly, I feel like it's definitely one to just keep one of, because it's a generic level 9 synchro, and with like if you're playing virtual world, it's definitely one of those cards that you would want to just keep one copy of, simply because if you're able to just summon this out and then extend further afterwards, like, you know, have this in a Shenshen, you've got effectively what could be a live macrocosmos and then a non-target shuffle all opponent's monsters back into the deck, because it just needs whenever another monster effect is activated. So if you get this on board, activate 5 other monster effects on your turn, then it becomes live. And you know, it's basically what I said. I discussed earlier before we started recording of this with Joe. This is somewhat of like a pseudo Nibiru in a sense, but just a level 9 synchro, and just still works in the same way of like if your opponent can't get a you know, and monster gate by their 5th summon, then this is just effectively a very viable board removal in a sense. So especially ones just like Nibiru does anyway, but without the token. So yeah, this is my market watch for this week, should I say, or this one.
Yeah, so the Wolf Frey, the Stellar Wind Wolf, is the level 9 synchro that came out in Dawn of Majesty. Requires one tuner plus one or more non-tuners. Level 9, as Donald said. Only control one of it. While this card has less than 4,000 attack, each time another monster's effect is activated, this card gains 300 attack. Immediately after it resolves. Once per turn, if this card has 4,000 or more attack, quick effect, you can shuffle this card and all monsters your opponent controls into the deck. So the idea behind this, like Donald said, is you only need to activate 5 monster effects. Now, technically, you don't need to activate those 5 monster effects. If your opponent can't play without activating a monster effect, then, of course, you'll gain those boosts as well. Now, it's not the most broken card ever, which is why it's not like a secret. It's why it's not like highly sought after, and why Donald is suggesting get one copy of it or try and sell it. I think at the moment, because it's a brand new set, picking up a copy is always going to be worthwhile, because any deck that can make a level 9 synchro is going to be able to abuse this. The issue is making sure that you can activate monster effects after you make it. As Donald rightfully pointed out as well, as it is a wind, it works very well in Virtual World, because obviously they can produce this and they can produce Shen Shen 9 times out of 10 in the same turn. So the idea is that you're going to get a 4k boss monster, and then if your opponent does open up with an imperm, they've then got to choose, do I turn off Shen Shen or do I turn off this? And you pretty much just let your opponent build their board up until you go, right, okay, now I'm fearful something's going to happen, shuffle it all in, done and dusted. Cool. All right, then. So, Joe, what is your Market Watch card?
So, my Market Watch card is Elemental Hero Liquid Soldier. Why is this card £60 on eBay? It's like, yeah, if you're going for first ed Liquid Soldiers, they are £60. Like, I managed to sell one of mine for 40 because it was unlimited. So I thought, I'm better reduce that price, and it went relatively easy. So I want to say, because it's a hero and Konami, both TCG and OCG Luki for some reason, and Elemental Heroes, and they just print them out like money. Like, this is sure to get a reprint, considering we're also getting Destiny Hero support down in Burst of Destiny to sell this off now. But I feel like even without a confirmed reprint or a high valued reprint coming up, £60 for a Liquid Soldier, if you've got spare copies lying around, or if you're like me and just like, oh, Heroes is just like my fun side deck to play, and I'm don't really need that, just get rid of him. Get rid of him now, because that's very easy money. That's an easy £50 for first ed, or as I said, £40 for unlimited down in your pocket, which you can then invest into anything else. So my Market Watch card today is Elemental Hero Liquid Soldier.
Yeah, so obviously Liquid Soldier is the one that when you normal summon it, you get to revive a hero from the grave. And like Joe said, we received Legendary Hero 6, I think it was, which came with the hero support and the Dark Magician support back in January or February this year. So it's definitely due a reprint. We've seen Legendary Heroes or Legendary Duelists Season 1 and Season 2. We're waiting on Season 3. Now, in my opinion, it's going to be very difficult for Season 3, because Season 3 will contain hero support, magician support, utopia support, like reprints wise, and that's just in Legendary Hero 6. It's also got to cover Legendary Hero 5, which also gives us the Destiny Hero support, plus I think it's like Evil Spirits, like a Bakura set. So there's a lot that's going to get reprinted in that. Magician Souls. So again, it's going to lead on to my Market Watch card. And my Market Watch card is pretty much any Dark Magician card that came in that set, because they've just had new support revealed. So you look at Magician Souls, they're still sitting at around 80 quid each as well. And that's a very easy money grab. But one that always shocks me is the Dark Magicians. Now, the Dark Magicians is currently sitting at £54 on eBay. There's a £42 one on bid with 7 days left to go, a £55 one. Now, this is obviously the fusion monster that, if it's destroyed, you revive Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl from your hand, deck, or grave. And if a spell or trap is activated, you draw a card. If it's a spell or trap, you can set it and activate it that turn. So, a card like this, again, because they're going to be due reprints, like there's no doubt that these cards will be reprinted before we get the new Dark Magician set. The only downside is we haven't had it confirmed that Legendary Duelist Season 3 is actually happening. But when it does, what it usually does is it reprints the monsters as secret rares. So I wouldn't be surprised if Magician Souls became a secret, if the Dark Magicians became a secret, a Dusted Gold, Liquid Soldier, Bane all got secret upgrades. And by doing that, because there's only 10 promos, you can pretty much buy a case which gives you 10, not a case, like a box, which gives you 10 of them, with 10 dice if they decide to do dice again, and then you're getting 10 secrets. So when you look at a Dusted Gold that you only need one copy of, Liquid you probably only need one copy of, the Dark Magicians you probably only need one copy of, Bane you only need one copy of. The only one you're going to need 3 copies of is, of course, Magician Souls. And if that is a promo, everyone's going to buy it. And if it's not a promo and it's within the set, people are still going to buy the set because they're going to want that card. So they're cards that we've nearly had for a year. They're definitely going to be due for a reprint soon. Is now the right time to cash in on it? In my opinion, yes. Liquid Soldier at 60 quid is not going to go any higher. The Dark Magicians at 55. I thought it was not going to go any higher than 40. So at 55 is definitely worth cashing in on. I need to shift mine, to be honest. Obviously, as a Dark Magician player, I've kept 2. But the chances are when that card's going to get upgraded or it's going to become purple lettering, you're already going to trade it out. So I think there's definitely easy money that could be made there. Donald, what is your tech card or deck for this week?
So my tech card for this week is going to be Necro Valley. This was brought up to me when I was playing against Matt when he was playing Tri Brigade Zoo. And he noticed that I had the tech of the Butler Rusk with the Secret Village of Spellcasters, as it's a card. Well, Butler Rusk can search me any field spell when normal summoned. And I pointed out, yes, arguably, like if I had Necro Valley or Zombie World, and then the fact that I can just replace my field spell and stun them for the turn, because the combo play involves me grabbing back Shadow to my hand and then playing the new whatever field spell I play. So in this case, I played Secret Village and then prevent the spell being activated. But he pointed out clearly Necro Valley or Zombie World would definitely be a better tech or I guess side tech against the Tri Brigade in a general sense, for the fact that they need to banish their graveyard, and it has to be like I think it was Beast Warriors or Wing Beast or Beast monsters in order to summon your Link monsters. So I decided to go for Necro Valley this one, simply because Necro Valley, aside from hitting Tri Brigade in that sense, I've also realized, it hits stuff like the Drytron deck as well, which is also arguably another competitive deck, interacting with the grave on that part. And it's just one of those good stun cards to be played if you're able to play it. And then in my brother's case, I could activate the Necro Valley, and then they have to pass turn, and then back to my turn, I can just get rid of it by playing back the Chateau I added back to my hand, and then continue my Midojo plays on that. But I think for this, from the locals we had, I think Necro Valley would be my choice of tech card for this time round.
Yeah, I think it's a very good tech card. I think Rob's used it as well. I saw Rob played Zombie World. But what I love about Necro Valley is the type of deck that you have to play is very specific in order for it to be a beneficial for you, or like not interrupt your plays as much. But exactly like Donald's just said, the reason that it works so well against Tri Brigade is for the fact that it doesn't let you move anything in the graveyard. So you can't banish to do their link summons, and that really, really hurts them. Like if they can't link summon the old their way, then they pretty much falter. So if you drop a Necro Valley on them, the fact that they can't get rid of it easily is obviously going to cause them issues. And then under an Appaloosa, again, you activate that. I don't believe they can activate Revolt either, unless all 4 are banished, if I remember rightly. So they would need to use all of the monsters banished in order to make the Shurag. And then once Shurag hits the board, of course it will banish the Necro Valley, but on top of that as well, they won't be able to, if they make the link free, they won't be able to revive from the grave either. So there's a lot to kind of consider. And the reason that, exactly like Donald said, the reason that Zombie World works so well is because you can't tribute anything that isn't zombies, but on top of that as well, everything in the graveyard becomes zombies. So the Tri-Brigade banish Beast Warriors, Wing Beast, they can't then banish zombies to get their effects off, so they pretty much go and falter. Joe, what is your tech card and or deck for this format, or this month, I suppose is the best way?
So my tech card is one that I've actually been speaking to you about, Dale, and that is Rivalry with Warlords. Like, this card's actually really good. I'm actually taking it in 2 of my decks at the moment. One being the Ignis. I'm not diverse anyway, so I don't really care with Rivalry one. Wait, what?
We're losing you, so you can turn off your camera if you want. If the camera's messing with the connection, you keep like spazzing out.
Ooh. One moment then. Hello?
Yeah, go again.
Good? Okay, cool. So, my tech card is Rivalry of Warlords. And, I've actually been talking to you about this with Dondale. It's really good, this format, I feel like, between both against Tri-Brigade Zoo, Drytron, be considering like they bounce between both fairies and machines. So it's like good luck trying to get into your fairies boss monsters when you got your 2 little machines on board. And a whole bunch of like other rogue decks you can like see this working very well. I'm using this in 2 of my decks at the moment, both being the Agnisters, because I'm locked into anywhere care and it's going to get my play, which is pretty this with another spicy tech in Bee Troopers, because they lock themselves into insects, and you can take a card called Parasite Paranoid, which you can equip this to a monster your opponent controls and make it insect. So if you do that, flip Rivalry, it's like, cool. You have to play insects, but you're not an insect deck. So there's little spicy gimmicks in that there. Also, like, if you can find this with Contract C, when you give them Contract C, it's like, cool, you have to use this, otherwise you can't play. But then you flip Rivalry, it's like, cool, now you have to do this with insects. So it's like, yeah, cool. So Rivalry, besides the gimmicky text I just mentioned, is actually really good this format. I think it's quite an underrated card. I've seen some people play it in their side decks, but I feel like it deserves a lot more use. It just hits so many of the types. So my tech card is Rivalry of Warlords.
Yeah, so me and Joe were talking about this because I was playing Bee Troopers, and I forgot to put the Parasite in. I was still using the Contact C, is it Contact C or Resonance C? But the thing that works really, really well is, as Joe was saying, off of the same combo that gives you Contact C and Resonance C, you can get Contact C and the Parasite. So you use Resonance Insect, link it, equipped it off of your Insector Link 2, then link off into the big boss guy. That will then trigger Resonant Insect to give you the level 6 of higher. And then when you bring back the Link 2, you banish 3, which is a Resonant Insect, which sends Gokipole. And then I believe the Parasite has 15 or less attack. So the Gokipole will add it, I believe. Let me just double check this. But yeah, the idea is that when Rivalry, because you lock yourself into insects, your ceiling is still pretty good, but your ceiling is quite restricted. So being able to then get into the Parasite. So the Parasite is 500 attack. It's an Earth. Now I think Gokipole is 15 or less defense.
I think Goki Pole has to add a level 4.
Oh, it does. Yeah,
I think
that's sad.
the only issue. I believe there's other ways you can do it anyway, like get into it. But I just thought it was like, this is just too funny.
Yeah, it's still a very good tech, because I think that's the one thing that misses. Like, at the end of the day, if you give your opponent an insect, if you're backing, so you make your opponent's monsters an insect, you're setting your rivalry, and then you're backing it up with a counter trap monster negate, plus you're giving them a contact here that basically says you can only use this to link, or you have to use this to link and all of that. You're really putting them up with the back up against the wall. Cool. All right, well, my tech going forward for this format is going to be Ready Fusion. Now, Ready Fusion is the brand new secret that we got in Dawn of Majesty. I thought it was going to be the chase card. I thought it was going to be the £50 plus card. It's not. It sits at about 20 to 25 depending on where you're looking. Now, the reason I think Ready Fusion is worth picking up and is a good tech card going forward is for any deck you want, as long as there is a vanilla extra deck monster or a vanilla fusion that is level 6 or lower, you can summon it. Keep in mind as well that we did get a level 2 tuner and we've got the level 5 Theseus tuner as well. So if you wanted to turbo out Halley Firebrax plays, you could do that. And the reason that Ready Fusion is so good is because Ready Fusion actually, believe it or not, has access to level 6 Spellcaster. So if you want to be fancy and you want to play Dark Magician Girl, you're giving yourself a free level 6 monster. There is also a insect, but it's I think it's like Kagawata bug or Hercules bug, something like that. Crazy expensive, not even going near it. But then, like I said, if you want to turbo out your Halley Firebrax, you've got access to 2 tuners. If you want to turbo out a Zold, you've got access to Warriors. If you want to turbo out of rank 4, you've got access to level 4s, rank 3s, 2s, 1s, the whole... Literally, everything is covered throughout Ready Fusion. And it's one of those cards that it's worth having than not having. And I think it might come down a little bit more. But all it takes is someone to main deck it or someone to put it in a competitive deck that does really well, and the price will then go back up. So it's one of the ones that at 20 quid, it's worth picking up. It's a good tech card going forward. It's not a tech card that's going to change the face of everything, but if you play a deck that literally says you need extenders to get going. So, for example, for me and Joe, we play the shark deck. So getting the fish out of that, no longer do we need to rely on the 1 instant fusion. We can now play the 1 instant fusion plus the 4 ready fusions. So there's a lot to kind of work with and a lot to go back and forth with. And it's just the fact that technically the way you see it is it's free copies of any extender that you need in the entire game. So rather than trying to go, right, okay, well, I need to play this level 5 fire warrior in red layer, but I need to control no monsters or my opponent controls no monsters for me to use it. You can go, right, cool, swap that out for Ready Fusion. Does the same job, it just doesn't give me a monster on the board, but eventually it gives me a monster in the grave. And you can utilize it from there. So it's not the perfect card, but I think around 20 quid, if you can get a playset for 50, you're buzzing. And it's definitely a tech card that I would say works going forward. So that's a bit of a different angle. That's an angle to help improve your individual deck just from consistency. Whereas Joe's and Donald's techs are particular cards that you put into your deck if they can work under them and will cause your opponent more issues than you. So that is it for our very merry ones to watch in our standby phase. So we've given you a couple of ways to make a bit of money or a couple of ways to sell some cards quickly while you can. And then we've also given you a couple of options for how to combat the meta or a card that might be useful going forward to help give you or always guarantee you to have an extender. Now we're going to move on to our main phase. And this time we are going to discuss our top 3 personal XYZ monsters. So, our main phase 1, we are going to discuss one that we haven't, believe it or not, done before. I looked over the past episodes, I was like, how the heck have we not done this? And we're going to do our top 3 XYZs. Now, we're going to keep these personal, but we'll also try and justify why we feel that they have a utility, not just because, oh, the artwork's really pretty. We're actually going to justify why we find that these are utilized. We're going to try, and I haven't told these two yet, but we're going to try and avoid any banned cards. I don't really want us to be selecting Shockmaster, Patelamaya, stuff like that, because yes, they're great cards. There's a reason they're on the ban list. And I want us to try and justify as a whole why the card is within our favourites. I already know one of Donald's. If it's not on Donald's list, I'm going to be beyond amazed, because not only does the card fit, but its effect is bonkers. And we're going to go from there. So we'll start with Donald. Donald always does it from 3 to 2 to 1. So let's start with Donald. And what is your third XYZ?
So my third place, XYZ. It's one out of the left field, which many of you may not know about. It is actually I zero. Hold on. Oh god. Zero fine. Is it ice? Ice? Yeah. Zero fine. Ice Beast Zero fine. It's rank 4 winged beast, and it requires 2 level 4 winged beast monsters. Its effect is once per turn, detach 1 material from this card, negate the effects of as many face-up cards your opponent currently controls as possible, and if you do, this card gains 300 attack for each face-up card currently on the field, except this card, and these changes last until your next standby phase. Now, Ice Beast Zero Fine is a very, I would say, underrated card. Admittedly, the most practical use you're going to really use it is like Black Wings, Harpies, because they are and even Raid Raptors, because they are level 4 Winged Beast Winged Beast decks that can just spam out rank 4s. More so Raid Raptors and Harpies, less so on Black Wings. But it's a utility. It's just one of those cards that, because it's only specific, it doesn't get a lot of recognition. So I've had to look at these XYZs, and like I would have to also consider their utility by themselves, like as in a nutshell. But obviously have to put some personal favoritism into this. And yeah, Ice Beast Zero Fine is just one of those that I've used across the decks that I can use it, and because it's very underrated, I have to put on as my number 3 pick for this list.
Yeah, I really like that card. It's such a shame that, well, it's not a shame, because I think if it wasn't as specific as it is, it would probably be utilised in more decks. So, yeah, completely agree. Joe, what is your first XYZ on your list?
So my first XYZ on the list is Duo Dawn King Kali-Yuga. Like, he had to be on this list somewhere, and I picked him as number 3, which is probably the most surprising. But like, my number 2 and first have like really good, to me personally, valid reasons why they're high on the list. But Kali-Yuga just does so much. Whether it's your DDDs, it's like probably like the best the deck actually has. It is just a fantastic Phantom Knights target if you can pull it off. I know even like Utopia is going to be able to pull it off down in the future once we get the structure deck support. This card just does everything for you. Just make free to do whatever, no matter what you want to do. It is a heavy storm. Like if you for heavy materials you have on it, which is just a fantastic utility card. And he just looks badass. Like he's just literally the king on his throne, who in the anime shoots hellish purple lightning at your opponent, because why not? Like, this guy is just amazing to me personally, both artistic, personal reasons as well as utility reasons. And that's why I've gone for Duo Dawn King Kali-Yuga as my number 3rd pick.
Yeah, I would have been surprised if it wasn't on your list. Okay, my first one, like, it's so difficult because I got back into the game playing rank 4 decks. So my second and third are, like, kind of share the same level. But I think one of my favourite XYZs, and again, is purely because it just beats the other one, or beats the other XYZ that shares in the family, because I got this one first, and it was my first Ghost Rare that I got. So it's a Tellarknight Deltaros. Now, the reason Tellarknight Deltaros is in here above Trevere, as much as I think Trevere is the better card, I think that Deltaros, for me, just has more personal usage. I think the card itself is more colourful because it's got the yellow, the blue, the purple, the gold, the silver. Then it's got the red, the green, the blue. Like, the colours in it, like, if you actually look at a secret version of this card, looks beautiful. Its effect in general as well is pretty cool. So it's like detach a card to pop a card. Don't get those weak ass effects anymore. And if it was destroyed or if it left the field, you got to special summon a Tellarknight. So obviously coming back into Saturnalites, my first kind of taste of XYZs after Utopia was Deltaros. And it just kind of, it beats Trevere in the sense that it has more of a personal connection to what I got first. And I just think it looks awesome as well. So artwork beats it. The effect at its time was pretty unique and pretty cool. And now I think it's just in general has been power crept, but still an incredibly good card, and was hard not to, or was easier not to put it on the list, or harder to not put it on the list. Donald, what is your second XYZ for your list?
So my second XYZ on my list has to come from the grand archetype that uses XYZs the most. And I was surprised when I was looking through my decks, and I would have slapped myself with dishonor if I did not include one of these XYZs in this list. But the one for me is number 2 is Zodiac Borbo. Now, being patriotic of being Chinese, born in the year of the boar, and having that connection of that, as the other guys like to call it, my what was it, I forget what was my birthright. That was it. Now, Borbo, relations aside, Borbo out of everyone did actually win me. I think first won me a game, and I think it did win me the match entirely in a regional event when Zodiac was meta at the time. And the story was that I declared an attack with Borbo. I asked for an opponent for any response. They had nothing. I then changed Whiptail. They then waited for the resolution for Whiptail to attach and activate a trap, in which I called the judge over and to find out that by activating that trap, the declaration of attack has gone through already, and it already killed him. So he missed his window opportunity to activate the trap to respond, and then Borbo effectively, despite its gimmick, won me the game. And obviously, people are now using this card as a easy toolbox out to get into Zeus. And I did find out a combo play which did end up using your entire hand to put 12 materials to this card back when you had access to Broadborn Trident. But that was just more for the gimmick that you can just send all cards in your opponent's hand and field to the graveyard and then change it to defense position. But yeah, Zodiac being one of the greatest XYZ decks of all time, I had to put this card alone on my number 2 list as number 2. Yeah, so Zodiac Borbo.
As if it doesn't see enough play nowadays anyway. Joe, what is your second card on your XYZ top 3 list?
So my second card, I would not be surprised if either of you have this on your list, but it is 39 Utopia. You can't not love Utopia. To me, it is the first Xyz in the game. I know it came out at the same time as a bunch of other cards, but this was the pinnacle of Xyz when the summoning mechanic first came out. A lot of decks just splash this card in as the 15th card in the extra deck. It saves a lot of people, but apart from that, his artwork is just so classic and amazing. His summoning animation is perfection in the anime. So good. It's so iconic. It has so many good evolutions. It has so many good moments in the show as well. And it even has a Rush Duel counterpart, which, if you do not know, is called Uniform Number 39 Junior Baseball King Home. It is a baseball reference of Utopia, and it looks so good. But none of this would have happened without Utopia. It is just so good. I love the card. It's got so much support. It's probably, in terms of the one of the best sorted in the game, personally, just because it just has so many good usages. And yeah, I could not put him on my he would have been number one if I did not have a very strong personal preference to the next one. But number 39, Utopia, is my number 2 pick.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been amazed if either of you two didn't have that on your list. I was like, I'm going to leave that one for those two to kind of squabble over. Cool. All right, well, my second one is TCG exclusive, so it kind of fits in with our top theme, our battle phase of this week as well. And it's one of the sad thing about it is this particular card was never beaten. Like, it came out on its first wave of a TCG exclusive. It had so much potential, and then nothing else ever came close to it. That's Time Thief Redoer. So Time Thief Redoer, I think it's more specific in a deck now that plays the Shade Brigadine. But what I like about it is it constantly gives you knowledge of your opponent's deck because you get to steal one of their cards. So in a sense, it becomes its own interruption, whether you have a trap or a spell underneath it regardless. It's a little bit of a wuss because it can run away whenever it wants, as long as it's got a monstrous material. The trap gives it a bounce. The spell gives it a draw. Like, it's a complete XYZ in a sense that it's like, cool, I can draw you a card, I can bounce an opponent's card, I can run away if I'm in danger, but I'm also going to steal your opponent's stuff as well. It's kind of like, excellent. The only thing you need is like a negate. But if you had a negate, you'd probably be a little bit busted. Then the thing is that it never got eclipsed. Like, the whole art type is awesome. I really enjoy it. But it took them so long to make it playable. We still have a new card that we haven't received yet, which maybe we'll see in Battles of Legend. But I just think overall, as an XYZ, as a rank 4, it's not as staple. And I would like to think, I don't know if either of you two have got it as number 1. I doubt it that you have. But you can look at stuff like Tornado Dragon, and you can also look at stuff like Abyss Dweller. I think the pair of those are just, like, if they were in the best XYZs, they would definitely be close. But I think for my personal favourites and cards I use the most, the cards that I think the lore behind it, the art type behind it, anything along those lines, I think Redoer just beats Tellarknights in the fact that every chance I get, if I'm using Shade Brigadine, I'm always putting in Redoer. And I just think it's a generally very fun and very powerful card. Donald, what is your number 1 XYZ? Please surprise us all.
Yes, it's totally excited on that. No, it has to be the queen herself, Midoji Queen Tiamasu. Like, what can you say about one of the greatest non-target removal effects in the game? Like, and the fact that it's just so easily splashable for the deck it's made for, since day one, and like since day one you can go magically ultimate offering, summon 3 of this, spin 6 back, attack directly for game. Totally not busted back then. But yeah, like, no, I don't think I can really say much on Tiamasu. There's like not many other cards that do her work. To be fair, the only closest one that comes to mind is Castell, but it does target. But it's basically the wannabe Tiamasu effect for XYZs. Now, while I credit Tiamasu for being one of the greatest XYZs, her effect obviously should be credited to Rainbow Neos for being like the OG non-target shuffle everything. So, but just being one of those boss monsters to be able to just non-target shuffle up to 2, and then for the fact that you can recur the resources back to your hand instead of with the field spell in play, it just makes it so broken in that sense, and just giving you pluses every time. And especially if you set up with 2 extra level 4s on your board with a sight on everything else, your opponent does get put in a position of like they're going to face the Tiamasu next time, unless they can negate it or bait it out or whatever. And a lot of the times nowadays, I do specify non-target just for the clarity of to locals in locals to say it doesn't target. But in tournaments, you just activate it, and then like by the time you pick your targets, and if they were to respond, you say you can't do that because it's a non-target shuffle. So yeah, Midoji Queen Tiamasu is obviously number 1 pick.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking on top of strongest cards, the only weakness to Tiramisu is the fact that it has to be played in my Dark Chase. And what I mean by that is, if it was a generic card, if it was a generic rank 4 card, the card would be banned, in my opinion. Purely for the fact, exactly like Donna said, just imagine if it was a generic card. 2 level 4 monsters, detach a material, you can target the material you detach, put them back into the deck. So you recur the resources that you would want, and then non-target shuffle 2 of your opponent's cards back. Not to mention that if you were to take into account that if it then got given a generic rank 5 that could just plop on top of it, takes it up a level. Incredibly good card, and especially in a game where there's so many cards that like can't be destroyed, can't be targeted. A card like that is just such a power play card, which is why, and we'll discuss it a little bit later, is Zeus is such a questionable card right now, and it puts a lot of people on the fence. So, we'll get to Zeus in a minute. Joe, what is your number 1 XYZ?
So my number 1 XYZ is number 107, Tachyon Dragon. I feel like I've just gone like full anime with my list, but that's me, the anime man. Yeah, like, no, I love Tachyon Dragon. He's one of my favorite dragons in terms of artistic value. Like, the card just looks gorgeous. Again, referring to anime because I do watch all the Yugioh series. His summoning animation is just so simple but really nice to just watch. No matter how many times I just watch, I'm just like, that's just good. Like, but also his effect has got me out of clutches so well. Like, he used to be my number 1 go-to in like Thunder Dragon format, just because like they just have all of their colossus and they're like, oh yeah, you can't kill them. Like, cool, Tachyon Dragon battle phase, negate every monster on the field permanently. And it's just like, you try and do anything, I'm just gonna get stronger and attack again. Like, if Yugioh helps me with my back row, Tachyon Dragon is my card to help me with the monsters, because like the only downside is that it's not a quick effect. I kind of wish that even if it was like what they did to High Flame King Genghis, where it's like it's a quick effect but only on my turn to balance it out a bit. It's like, yeah, cool, now that'd be alright. Like, I'm happy with that. Just like any way to just respond quickly with this dragon would be fantastic. But it is what it is. But nonetheless, he's just so good. Again, just like with Utopia and Yugioh, but artistic value, appearances in the show, his just all usage to me personally in the game and in my decks. Like, Tachyon Dragon just ticks so many boxes for me. And the fact he's a Galaxy card as well just makes him even better. It's like, yeah, cool, just let make all my cards live just because he's got that one word in his name. It's like so good. So my number 1 pick is 107 Tachyon Dragon.
Yeah, again, I'm quite happy that you've made yours like anime. Not that you specifically made it anime focused, but just like the influence that has had. I think it works out nicely. Okay, well, my number 1, no surprise here, is a Bon Illusion Magician. Now, it doesn't get played as much anymore, but it was the fact that when Dark Magician got new support, we had to wait for this card. This was so painful to wait for, because the America got it as a jump promo, and I was like, God damn it! And I had to wait for this as a super rare. It's been out since, what was Shining Victories, like 2017. So it's been out for 3 years. Hasn't had a reprint. It's stupid expensive right now. It kind of has the same feel. Like, what Dark Magician need is Dark Magician need a rank 6 Tiramisu. I mean, like, if only they had one called Yugioh or something crazy like that. But who would create a rank 6 like that? Like, that's just insane. Hint, hint, for those of you who don't know, OCG have a card that is called Yugioh. It is a rank 6. Its effect are banish a card, Monster Reborn a card, banish a card, Change of Heart a card. But we can't have it because boobs. Simple as that. It's probably pentagrams as well. But hopefully with these Lost Arts coming out, we might get it. But anyway, Bon Illusion Magician, rank 7. Also XYZ, this using a rank 6 Spellcaster XYZ monster you control. As material, once per turn, detach 1 material from this card to special summon a Spellcaster type normal monster from your hand or deck. That gives you your ace monster. Yay, Dark Magician. Then, if you declare an attack with a normal monster, you can target one card your opponent controls and banish it. So, obviously right now it's obviously been power crept by a mass amount. It's not as strong as it once was, but back in the day, this card was nuts because the idea was you would go circle, target, banish, or make this guy detach, summon that Dark Magician, circle, target, banish, attack with Dark Magician, target, banish, 5k direct, yay. It's still a card that I try to put in the majority of my Dark Magician decks unless I go for a specific fusion-based or synchro-based version. Artwork is what artwork is. It's Dark Magician. That's basically it. I don't think much more needs to be said about it. It covers everything that I need to do. It's a Dark Magician XYZ. What more would you want? The effect's pretty decent as well. And, of course, the artwork tops it off because it looks like a generic Dark Magician, which is really kind of cool. Long blonde hair, so I don't know how it, like the lore behind it, like what it's supposed to be fused with. Maybe, Dark Magician Go isn't even a level 7, so it's very difficult. It's not the easiest to bring out because the only level 7s you would usually run are either 2 Dark Magicians, or when I played this in the past, you would play Dark Magician and a Bon Illusion, because not a Bon Illusion, the Dark Magician, not Dark Magician, the Illusion, because the Illusion would then revive Dark Magician, so there's your rank 7. Anyway, so they are our XYZs. Now let's listen to what you guys have sent in for your XYZs. So, XYZ Dahak. Now, his little not emoji, but his profile picture is Dark Rebellion. So, no surprise here. He's chosen Dark Rebellion XYZ and all of his evolutions. So, I completely get that. I love Dark Rebellion. And the best thing about Dark Rebellion, and with obviously the other two, Arc Rebellion and Requiem, is more so with Requiem because it's got the secret ulti, and Dark Rebellion has secret ulti XYZ, secret ulti and Ghost. Is the secret rare versions of these cards look incredible? Like Dark Rebellion with the purple thunder in the background is like, what? And then Requiem with the stained glass wings, incredible, absolutely incredible. Number F-Zero, Utopic Draco Future. Completely agree. I love the artwork on that. It's kind of like Utopia got given a Gundam to upgrade with, which is awesome. And his vet is pretty cool. And then he chose number 101 and C101, Silent on Arc and Dark. Completely fine. Zane Truesdale chose Cyber Dragon, Nova and Infinity. I'm surprised that we didn't have Nova and Infinity, but I can imagine there just wasn't enough space on our lists. Salaman Gate Blaze Dragon. We haven't got that yet, have we? It's like the promo. Utopia, of course. Number 65, new number 99, and Zeus. And then also chose Madolce Tiramisu as well. So this was from Mohammed. What is number 65? Donald, you're the number guy.
65 is the Gym Buster, but if it's season 65 is King Overfiend.
Interesting. And what is 99?
99, I think it was...
Utopic Dragon.
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Natty's Dead chose F-Zero Draco Future. And then Pedalovagus chose Zeus, Ding, and Teardrop Rika Queen. Yeah, fair. I like the artwork on Teardrops. Rikas. So, alright, we're going to talk about Zeus quickly because it didn't feature on any other lists. I love the artwork of Zeus. I think Zeus looks absolutely incredible. And the reason I didn't put it on the list is because it's just that so easy to go to one. It is literally, right now, Zeus is an absolute boss. Like, crazy. So, Zane presented us with a question. And I usually would say this to the end, but I think because his first question relates to the XYZs, it would be good to do it now. So, he's got 2 questions. Zeus, Sky Thunder, was a big jump for Konami. He believes that Zeus is a big jump that Konami shouldn't have done. Or do we think it's a fine card by today's standards? I think it's one of them ones where it's a necessary card. Like, you still got to be able to attack with an XYZ. I think the issue with it is it's kind of like Dragoon as well, in the sense of how splashable it is. I mean, at the end of the day, you get 2 level 4s on board, you can go into Verte, then you go into Goon, or you can just make a rank 4, make Zeus. And I think with Zeus, it's a little bit harder to do because in order to make it usable at least twice, you kind of want to be able to either play Downward Magician or you need to play the Zoo engine. So, yes, it's a pain in the backside because it deals with the whole board, but the downside is it also deals with your board as well. So it's a double-edged sword that I kind of think balances itself out. and I don't think it's as indestructible as Dragoon, even though it's just as easy to get out as Dragoon. So that's my opinion on it.
Whose opinion do you want first?
We'll go with Donald.
Okay. Honestly, yeah, I was like, Zeus is one of those cards that, yeah, if it was once per turn during either player's turn, it would have been fine with the summoning mechanic of, you know, being splashable as it is. But the fact that it's you know, not once per turn makes it really busted for the fact that, you know, Zoo is a thing. So while Dale says, like, you know, if you just get 2 level 4s, you can just make a Charcoal Knight and stack Hammer Kong, Tiger Mortar, Ball Bow, and then, you know, like, arguably, yeah, it's not gonna have attack. But the fact that if I can't remember if it has to have if it has to has a tap points to basically, like, obviously do direct damage to your opponent and then count as battle. And then you can make a Zeus, then, you know, you're sitting with 6 materials. Otherwise, you know, you have a 0 attack. Arguably, you know, if it attacks to defense, then that's still battle, so whatever. But yeah, I feel like Zeus is just so broken because of how easily accessible it is. Like, admittedly, this would, if it didn't have that summoning mechanic to, like, you know, if it has to be stacked on any XYZ, like, I would have played the whole gimmick of playing chain material with chain material and fusion gate, because you can just summon out a Blue Eyes Ultimate and a 5-headed dragon and overlay them for Zeus, because that's possible, technically speaking. And obviously it reminds me of the whole fun comic of a little Melfi attacking a little Melfi monster, just giving a little punch to a Galatea or like to something, and then just seeing the little rabbit just transform to actual Zeus from the inside. Yeah, like, memes aside, like, Zeus is, I feel like Zeus is a problematic card because of the fact it's not once per turn. If it was a hard once per turn, the fact that, you know, you bait out, if you're able to just bait out in the game, just like Dragoon, but yeah, it doesn't have as much protection. You can then just go, okay, I can continue to play on, or you know, and such. So yeah, that's really my thoughts on it. And the only reason why it's so problematic is because it's not once per turn. Joe, your turn.
My only thing with Zeus is that I feel like he would have been fine the way that he is if they gave him like a rank limitation to what he could be stacked upon. I feel like a card like Zeus should be like the next level up from like Gaia the Thunder Charger. So like if that makes sense, so, like how like Gaia the Thunder Charger can only be stacked on like a rank 5 plus, like Zeus should have been like rank 7 plus. Because then like he could be used for the strength that he is, but then like you have to play like the higher level deck to warrant his power, that kind of thing. Like if we're gonna word it that way. Like otherwise, yeah, keep him the way that keep him to the summoning limitation that he is, but then like make him a hard once per turn on both players' turns, like as you said, Donald. Like that would make him fair for how splashable to be. And but if you want to make him more OP, then make his requirement. I feel like that's the only thing that he could have been done with, because at the moment, yeah, it is too easy to put him off. Like any rank 4 deck can splash this card in, or any XC deck really can just splash this card in. Like heck, even rank 1s can splash this card in. The fact that you don't actually have to deal damage, it just has to an XC's battles to then splash this on. And I believe you don't even have to splash this on the thing that did the battle. So long as an AXC's battle this turn, you can then just put this on top of anything else. It's like, yeah, cool. He did all the work, but he's going to get a rank up. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's pretty dumb. And then, like, I find it's just a bit crazy that way. When you look at it that way, so I feel like if I were to like errata him, I would just literally change the rank to be something higher again, like rank 7 or higher. So that's my points on Zoo. I think he's a cool card. He's fine. They should just made him summon restriction a bit harder.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot that you have to do to kind of successfully make him worthwhile. I agree with Donald. I think the issue that the fact that he's not even a once per chain, which is really mad. Because like Appaloosa can go negate and then he can go Zeus again Appaloosa. So you've already like burnt 2 Appaloosa negates of him. Again, on the downside for him is if you want to splash him in a rank 4 deck, you have to play the Zoo engine. If you want to splash him in any other rank deck of level 3 or lower, you need to play Downward Magician, which isn't really going to help you anywhere else. So you're still burning out an extra deck spot. I agree. I think he's, again, way too easy to kind of make. But then in order for him to have two kind of sends, which is what you want, you do need to use that rank up capability, which does eat another space out of your extra deck. So it does limit what type of extra decks you can put him in. But I can see the issue with him because I put him in a deck that I don't want to use or that I can't use Dragoon in. Because the other downside for Dragoon is you do have to play 3 bricks if you're not naturally playing them. So like, for example, in my most recent B-Trooper build, you play Sky Cavalry, and then you rank Sky Cavalry up into Downward Magician and then Zeus. And Sky Cavalry can't be destroyed by battle, so you just smack it, take a little bit of damage if you have to, rank up, Zeus, done, and it gives you a board clear. So it's good in the sense that it can help those lower end decks. But I also agree with you, I think it's a lot more... Like, if it said like it could only be made as a level 12 or ranked on top of a rank 3 or lower, that probably would have made it a lot harder to do. Because, again, you look at Thunder Charger. Thunder Charger can go on top of a rank 6, I think it is. So, literally, if it could only be put on top of a rank 3 or lower, it means you wouldn't be able to do the Downward Magician, and it means you wouldn't be able to do the Zoo Engine, and it also means you wouldn't be able to do the Thunder Charger. So there would be no way of Zeus to have, unless there's a rank 2 or 3 that I don't know of, to do 2 clears of the board, which is kind of the issue with it. I don't think it's due for ban. I think it's going to get reprinted first, and I still think it's quite difficult to kind of get him. So I think right now, when you look at it, you've got Zeus. No, there's no point in limiting him. I think right now you've got XYZ covered with Zeus. You've got Fusion covered with Dragoon. I think the only thing they're missing is Synchro. That can really go, boom, let's have an insane boss monster. Anyway, so that was it for our top 3s of our XYZs. Obviously read out your guys' top 3s as well. So let's move into our battle phase. And our battle phase is going to be really fun because we're going to discuss TCG exclusives. So what are TCG exclusives? Well, they say TCG exclusives, but technically it's the OCG that say, yeah, you can have this one first or you can have that one first. So the way it works is in certain sets, whether it be core sets, side sets, anything like that, the OCG basically say, here are the cards we've created, you can have these first. But what they don't tell you is that 9 times out of 10, the OCG will hold back the best card for when they get it. Prime examples, Burning Abyss, OCG got Beatrice. Subterrors, OCG got Guru. The biggest one imaginable was, of course, Spirals, and OCG gave them double Helix. Took a deck from being very casual tier 2 to the most broken tier 1 deck of my Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing time. Like, I've never seen a meta be 96% of a particular deck. It's just bonkers. Other TCG exclusives don't really fare that well. Dream Mirrors, War Rocks, and the most recent one of B-Troopers. So B-Troopers, we still don't know. There's still going to be more support. And the most recent stuff that the OCG are getting is the OCG are getting War Rocks, Mutants, and one other. And I can't remember what the other one is that they're getting. So they basically, the way it works is they get a premium pack.
They're getting the arena. They're getting the Pokenite stuff. The
Pokenites, there you go. So the Pokenites was another exclusive. So they're getting those, which I'm quite excited about because I'd like to see what mutant card they get. I would like to see what War Rock card they get, and I would also like to see what Pokenite card they get to kind of take it up a level. Now, it's not always guaranteed. There are some times where OCG don't give the deck a particular new card. And there are times when the card they give it is nowhere near as good because the deck's already too broken. So just imagine, like, another one we had was Dangers. When the OCG got it, the OCG gave him a trap card, which just wasn't good enough. But if you imagine if they held back Danger Snake or Danger Nessie and then gave them that as their exclusive... what other exclusive we had? We've had, obviously, Time Thieves. We've had Cosmos, which was Star Wars and Wizard of Oz, which, in my opinion, is probably one of the best TCG exclusive ever, for the pure fact that, yes, it was meta-dominant, but the theme behind it, I thought was incredible. Like, I'm a massive Star Wars fan, happy with that. And then the nice little Wizard of Oz that kind of balanced it all back out was really cool. And it's always nice getting these cards going, oh, great, that's a reference to that, and that's a reference to that. Really brings, like, the love behind a TCG exclusive. So, what we're going to discuss in this particular review is we're going to talk about TCG exclusives in general. We're going to talk about the top decks that we've had that have been TCG exclusives. We're going to talk about the worst decks we've had. And we're going to talk about what the worst TCG exclusive decks might need in order to become... And when I say the worst TCG, we're probably going to talk about the Poker Knights, we'll talk about the War Rocks, and we'll talk about the Mutants, purely because they're the ones that we don't know yet. I'm pretty sure, apart from Beat Troopers, which you've only just got, the OCG have all of the other exclusives. They'll be up to date with us by the time they get that premium pack. So, let's talk about the best, and if I miss any, Donald and Joe are more than welcome to chime in. So let's talk about the best TCG exclusives that we have received to date. Now, in my opinion, the top three, hands down, are Burning Abyss, Cosmos, and Spirals. Like, Spirals only after Double Helix. So, Spirals before the OCG got involved, nowhere near. But Cosmos and BA, before the OCG got involved, were meta-dominant at their time. Burning Abyss came out in the Duelist Alliance era, which had Shadows, Tellarknights, and then eventually Cleethorpes and Necrons getting involved. So that was a very nice format because it was quite ranged. And then when they got Beatrice, it took up a little notch. It wasn't like a massive jump, but it was a nice little bump up. Then we look at Cosmos. Cosmos, again, were meta-defining. They were so powerful. The first lot of support got Cosmo Farm Girl. It had Dark Lady. And it had... I don't think it really had a boss monster. I think it had like Slip Rider and Forerunner. Then in the second batch of support, that's when they got Dark Destroyer. That's when they literally went, boom. You're going to have a boss monster that's non-target, that targets and pops. And they're always going to float. They're always going to resolve. They're going to do whatever they need to do. And then you look at Spirals. Now, Spirals, in my opinion, like we've just said, they were a non-playable deck. You couldn't play them. You had a bit of fun with them. Double Helix, again, in my opinion, is the most influential single card in my entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing time. Now, obviously, this is before, like, I wasn't around with Dark Rulers. I wasn't around with stuff like Dark Arm Dragon and how influential that was. But throughout my time of playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I never saw one card take a meta in both the OCG and the TCG to a 96% of pure domination. I'm pretty sure it even broke to 98% at one point. At one of the big events, it hit 98%. Absolutely crazy. What it did for the deck was beyond insane. So yeah, they're kind of, in my opinion, they're the three best TCG exclusives that have ever really hit our shores. And I feel that apart from... I don't know what the OCG gave Cosmos. I'm not sure on that one. But, yeah, I think when you look at the more recent TCG exclusives, they've kind of brought them back a little bit. Like, you can look at stuff like Plunder Patrol. Very fun, very good deck, but it's still missing something. And the OCG have already been involved with that. They gave them, I think it was like Black Eyes, which is just a free extender, which is really kind of cool. But it didn't really take it to that next level. You've also looked at Mutants, you look at Time Thieves. Again, none of the cards have really had that meta-defining or a meta bump. Now, apparently we also have Noble Knights, which is awesome. Love that. Trying to see what else. Oh, UAs. We had UAs as a TCG exclusive. Again, very fun deck, very underdog. Didn't really get great until the OCG got involved, and even then, didn't really bump it up the next level. We can look at the worst ones. So what else have we got? We got Noble Knights, Burning Abyss, UA, Cosmo, Kaijus were a TCG exclusive, which, again, I think the fact that the way they changed the game, even though they weren't a deck on their own, was incredible. Spirals, Subterrors, And then we had FAs as well. What else was there? Trying to see what else there was. I think that's kind of where we're at. Apart from the new ones that we've received, I don't think there was anything else. Oh, Vendread. Vendread were really cool. They got Vendread Savior was the OCG exclusive card of that one. But again, it wasn't a deck that went from tier 0 to like... tier 2 to like tier 0 like Thingy did. Like Spirals did. Obviously, most recently, we've also been given the Arcana cards. We got given Toon Chaos cards as an exclusive as well. We got them before the OCG. And then obviously we've got the B Troopers.
We got Valkyrie.
Did we get Valkyries before them?
We got Valkyrie before them. Then they gave them Valkyrie Sigrun, which is the level 9 one.
Yeah, which is pretty decent in the lore of what they need. Oh, here we go. Vendread, FAs, Noble Knights, Mutants, Dreamers. Dreamers, in my opinion, like, I love the artwork. I love the way it works and operates, but it's nowhere near. And I think, again, the OCG gave them an incredibly good card. They gave them the new Fusion Monster. Dangers were a TCG exclusive. They were probably the best that didn't get an upgrade of what they needed, but they were more as an engine than an actual deck of themselves, in my opinion. Subterra is one of the... I wouldn't say the best, but like before Guru, Guru took them up such a level. It was crazy. So yeah, do you two have anything more to add to the list in general? Any of your thoughts on them before we start discussing the most recent ones that the OCG are going to add a card to, and what card they could possibly add in order to make it like not meta defining, but kind of help the deck out? Because at the moment, in my opinion, the most, and it's sad to say this, the most playable deck out of Mutants, War Rocks, and Joker Knights are Joker Knights. So there's a lot that needs to be added, and the OCG very rarely give them more than one card from that release set. They might give them future support, but we're looking for a card that's going to turn the tide of the decks from being not on the same level as a Spiral Change, but not playable or casual playable to, wow, this can actually put up a really decent fight.
My only issue is that sometimes they kind of like forget some of them. Like, going off the recent ones, like before B Troopers, they did the Meteoronus thing. They made this like level 3 little serpent dragon, and they gave it a rank 3 like upgrade. And it kind of like hints that there's going to be more of them, but they actually haven't given anything else. They've just given them these 2 cards, and they haven't done anything else with them. And it's just like, it's kind of a shame, because excluding the fact that they're dragging me, like, they seem to have a lot of potential of being like a really cool, like, they could have been a really cool rank 3 focused deck, kind of like the new BA. But they, again, just haven't done anything. They've kind of been doing this lately with some of the TCG exclusives, or at least here for the TCG only. They were given one set, like 2 to 3 cards, and then they just brush it off and then move on to the next thing. It's just like, no, finish what you're already doing and then give us something new. It's like, don't just wait for the OCG to do your job for you. Like, at least do your thing. Like, you have the job, you have the chance to do your own stuff for the game. Why aren't you doing it? And it's kind of a shame, because there's, again, so much potential. To me personally, I think Spiral's not the time fees aren't finished personally, because there's tons more Doctor Who references that they could have done. They could have really gone all out on that deck personally. But yeah, I just feel like my only issue with the TCG exclusives is that they just leave them unfinished, and either OCG doesn't pick up where they left off, or they do and they do it better, which then just makes us look even worse. It's like we can't even make good cards.
Yeah, so this is the misconception, is we don't make the cards. So the TCG don't get involved with the cards. It literally, the OCG already make them. The OCG have the recipe, and they just say, you get to release them to your public first. So it's understandable in a sense that they hold back the best card. because the idea is literally at current with main sets, we feed off of the hype of the OCG. We go, oh, damn, that deck's doing really well there. It might transverse to the TCG. Whereas what they try and do with these exclusives, they try and flip that. They try and get the OCG to look at us a couple of times, but probably the OCG look at us and go, ha, suckers, you're paying 60 quid on the Diviner when we're going to get it for 10 yen. But yeah, like, I think what makes TCG exclusives so cool is the references. So, like, obviously, we've gone over... so, Burning Abyss is Dante's Inferno. Cosmos is Wizard of Oz and Star Wars. Kaijus are, of course, what Kaijus are. Time Thief, as Joe mentioned, is Doctor Who. Plunder Patrol is obviously Pirates. Spirals is like James Bond and Jason Bourne. Then you've got Vendreads, which is Spawn and Resident Evil, which, like, that combination is gold. It's such a shame that the art type went... Noble Knights is, of course, the Tales of King Arthur. Mutants is apparently based off of Stranger Things. And then I don't know the references for the rest. Obviously, UAs and FAs are all about sports, so football, baseball, all of that stuff, and then racing. So other than that, that's kind of where they sit. Donald, what are your kind of... Have you got anything to add to this bit before we talk about what could possibly become...
The only thing I can really add is that, TCG exclusives can be a sort of hit and miss. Like, arguably, like, the two best are Cosmo and BA, because they define formats during their peak, and then the OCG just just added bits to it. But then, as you said, and then you have some art types like Subterra and Spiral, which, or more notably Spiral, to get like the one card support, and it either makes the deck from just roguish to unplayable to actual competitive. So yeah, it's really a hit or miss on this thing, but yeah, it could be as a marketing scheme as well, for Konami's side as well. But yeah, nothing much more to add to this.
Fine. So obviously the most recent one we've just received is Beat Troopers, which is a brand new insect-based art type. A lot of their stuff is closed-ended, and what I mean by that is, yes, it does provide little bits of support, but when you look at their counter trap, it specifically says when you control a B Trooper. If you look at their field spell, it only revives a B Trooper. So I think they've tried to learn their lesson from the Burning Abyss, even though Burning Abyss was quite closed off, to be fair to him. They've kind of learnt their lesson from Cosmo. Again, Cosmo were quite closed off, and Spirals as well were kind of closed off. They were all self-contained, and what I mean by that is apart from Burning PK, it's very rare that you saw them mix with anything else because they have that whole self-destruct element. The Cosmos very rarely mixed with anything else because they relied on banishing themselves, they recycled themselves specifically. So it's always nice to see a TCG exclusive because it does give a bit of excitement, it does give you a bit of freshness. It's like, oh, we've never seen this card before, we never know what it's done, let's go from that. That being said, they do come out with some absolute stinkers in the form of... I can't even justify War Rocks. At least with Dream Mirrors, I can say, damn, that artwork is pretty awesome. But with War Rocks, the second that Konami dropped it, it was pretty ass. So, what we're going to discuss is we're going to discuss the premium pack of 2021 that the OCG are going to get. And they're all going to get, all of the archetypes are going to get one new card, at least. It's very rare that they get anything more than one new card. And it might even bring the Metatis that Joe was mentioning into that set as well as like a little underlying kind of support. So, Mutants, War Rocks, and Poker Knights. In my opinion, I can't think of anything. We'll start with Poker Knights and we'll work our way down. We'll go Poker Knights, Mutants, and then War Rocks. In my opinion, I think that the Poker Knights are relatively balanced. I don't think that there's anything missing. Like, we're going to be sensible here. We're not going to say, give them a pot of greed. Because, like, yes, you could do that, but that would just be stupid. That's not even using our brains. But for me, they pretty much have what they need. They've got the ability to kind of pump out the monsters a little bit better. The only thing that I feel they should get or that they need is they need a light warrior monster that is modern. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people seem to like them, but I kind of can't get past it, is the Arcana Joker and the Arcana Link 3 they're all reliant on targeting effects. And to me, right now, you can't have your boss monster protect you only from targeting, because there's like, if this card targets, you negate it. It's like, okay, cool, but what if my opponent plays Dark Hole, Regeki, or anything like that? My whole board's gone. So if I was to cherry pick a card for the deck, it would need to be a Light Warrior XYZ, or it would need to be a Light Warrior Link 2, Link 3, whatever you want to do. And it needs to provide either an extension for the deck, so like a card that literally, like a Link 1, that can count itself, like Joker does it already. Joker can count itself as Queen and King, so he's kind of covered that already. But like a card that helps you either complete the King combo, or a card that just offers you a bit more protection or a bit more of a boss monster to help. Now, obviously, they've got the Arcana Triumph Joker, which is a boss monster herself, and they can now be utilised with the gods by providing 3 easy tributes. But if you're going to lock me into Light Warriors, when you look at what Light Warriors we actually have available to us, there's very few. So I think a Light Warrior upgrade of the Joker Knight, the Arcana Joker Knight, or anything like that, I'd be all behind. So that would be my opinion for the Poker Knights. We'll go to Joe first, then Donald, because I know Joe plays the Poker Knights a little bit more. If you could pick a card, if you could create a card for the Poker Knights, what would you want it to be and do?
Just, it's tough because I feel like the new support does, like, there's nothing wrong with the new support. To me personally, I think the new support's perfect. Like, does everything both for the Joker Knights as well as the Egyptian gods, because that is iconically what they were used as. Like, they were literally used by Yugi as Godfa. So I feel like I personally, if I were to like literally write a card, what I want it to do, on the top of my head, I want it to say, shuffle back from your hand into the deck any kings, queens, or jacks knight, and then add to your hand a monster that lists these, or a divine beast. Because the only god that the new support does not is Obelisk. Which is quite weird because the new spell only searches a question marked divine beast, so it doesn't actually support Obelisk whatsoever, which is a bit weird. I feel like it should just literally said add divine beast for the Thunder Speed summon. So I feel like the only issue that Poker Knights have is that queens and jacks are still dead cards in your deck. Like, no matter how much the support is actually trying to do, they are still literally the only downside to the deck, is that you have to play these dead vanillas. So if you gave him another rotor that lets you shuffle those back and then replace them with either a Joker card or a Divine Beast monster, thus then Obelisk gets supported again, it'd be great. Yeah, you're going -1, but to get those dead cards out your hand and then replace them with what you want, I'm happy to go -1 for that personally. So that's what I would do for the Joker Knights.
Donald, do you have anything to add to the Joker Knights?
Yeah, so because when the set got announced, we did discuss of what we wanted to try and put into the set. So one of the things that came to my mind initially, and I was hoping that they do, but understandably with the support they got, they didn't do what I was considering, and that was to give basically Kings, Queen, and Joker another variant as an effect monster, where they are in the effect text. This is maybe on the field. It's treated. Actually, it should be. This card is always treated as this card. Like it could be like King's Knight, and then like another text of like maybe his attack or something like that. You know how cards where they are always treated as the original card, and then they just have an effect. So like Queen could have been like, if you normal, or if this is normal or special summon, you add a spell trap with the labeled text or with such, and then on Joker's Knight could have been, you know, something like maybe like it could have an inbuilt fusion effect, or the summoning mechanic that you summon an extra deck monster. So that way you don't have to play cards that forcibly, or spell traps that you relied on. Oh, I have the 3 knights, but then I need another card to then perform the summon or whatnot, and then and such. And while King's Knight does have an effect of his own, you could have another variant of King's Knight. Maybe it could very well have something something different, rather than like if you normal summon while Queen's Knight in the field is like, if there's just summoned while King and Queens, you can special a light warrior, or special summon another copy of one of them 3. It doesn't, or the Joker's Knight. So allowing you accessibility to do other things rather than being stick to just those knights. But yeah, that's really it for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, I think this is the one archetype. If someone said to me, look, one of the archetypes in this set is not going to get support, I would probably go with this one, because everything they got was really good. Like, the Joker was a great addition, a card that free special summons itself, recycles your materials. Imperial Boa, that gives you instant access to a Queen, a King, or a Joker. Jack, sorry. And then you look at Joker's Straight, you look at the Joker's Flush, all of those cards, and even the Fusion Spell. That's my issue, is I think the Fusion Spell is actually really kind of cool because it lets you use a card from your deck, but it doesn't get you anywhere. Like, the Gilfried monster is not good enough for modern day Yu-Gi-Oh! And neither is the Arcana, and neither is the Link 3. So I would like to see something come from that. But I also agree, I think that there just needs to be at that next level of a little bit of a bump. I don't want this deck to become tier 0. I actually really have a lot of fun playing it. I just want it to become a deck that I can go... Because at the moment, it's got loads of different variants. You can play a Warrior variant, you can play a God variant, you can even play an Arcana Triumph Joker, like Turbo variant. So, very fun deck.
I've mixed it with Monarch support, because the spells and traps and the monsters just say shuffle a light warrior. So I actually shuffle back the Eidos Squire, level 1 white light one, back into my deck.
Oh,
and
idea.
just keep reshuffling it. Yeah. It's like, yeah, cool. I'll do that then.
I mean, technically, if you activate Joker's Flush, you do give yourself an additional... is it Joker's Flush? You do give yourself an additional normal summon, and you give yourself 3 monsters on the board. It's like, yay, easy fodder. You just got to like sack your entire extra deck off. Anyway, okay, let's move on to the second one. So the second one is Mutants. Now, Mutants only ever got 1 wave of support. They got 3 main deck effect monsters. They got a field spell. They got 2 fusion monsters, and I believe they got 2 traps. I'm just going to quickly search it as we go. Now, the issue with the Mutants is their monsters are actually pretty good. They also got 3 additional effect boss monsters. So they got Mutant Evolution Lab, which lets you special summon a level 4 or lower mutant. And you got Mutant ST46, which is spell and trap. And then you got Mutant... Where is he? Mutant MO5, which is monster. Because basically the way they work is you can... If they're normal specials, you get to add a mutant monster or a mutant spell or trap, which is really cool. You got Mutant Arsenal, Mutant Mist, and Mutant Beast, which of course were the boss monsters. You got Mutant GB88, which was another normal summon monster, but really didn't utilize the deck. Their extra deck boss monsters was Synthesis and Ultimus. And then they had a trap card, which was Expansion, and they had Mutant Fusion. So they had a good lot of amount of utilities, but they had to be used with more banish-orientated cards. So a deck like this loves the banish pile. Mutant Clash as well. It utilizes Mutant Cry on top of that. How do I forget all of these? They utilize the banish area. Now, a lot of people were using these with Funders, because Funders like to be banished. You had stuff like Beast, and you had stuff like Mist and Arsenal that like to banish a particular card to then get an additional effect off. And it kind of, again, it felt like a 1 wave. It felt like the first wave of support. And we always wanted more support. So the question is, with a deck like this, they've already covered a monster that is normal searcher monster. They've got one that's normal searcher spell. They've got the 3 boss monsters, which are kind of okay. They've got their field spell. They've got a fusion spell. They've got a fusion trap. They've got an expansion, which allows you to take a level 4 mutant from the deck and either add it to your hand or special summon it. So what could you give a deck like this? Now, you don't want to give them a Macrocosm, you don't want to give them a D-Fissure. You need to give them, in my opinion, you need to give them an easier way to fuse or an easier way to recycle the monsters. Or you need to give them an easier way to specifically get to their boss monsters. So, the lower level monsters are as simple. You contribute this card, then banish 1 card from your hand or face up on the field. So straight away, you're already neg 2 cards. Because if your opponent ashes this, you're boned. Special summon 1 monster from your hand or deck based on that banished monster. Banished card. If it's a monster, you get to bring out Mutant Beast. If it's a spell, you get Mist. And if it's a trap, you get an Arsenal. So the little monsters give you what you need. The issue is because they tribute and banish as cost, you're like cards right now of Ash Blossoms, Ghost Spells, anything like that, pretty much just say, right, that's it. No, you can't do that. And you've already negged 2 of your best cards or 2 of your starter cards. The lower level monsters of M5 and ST are just so weak that they don't really get you anywhere. And they can't really attack. They can't really do a lot. They're 500 attack, 500 defense. The level 3 Psychic and level 2 Psychic. And then the GB88 is a level 4 Psychic. So yes, they've got an E-Telly. They can use and abuse that. Beast gives them the ability to... When your opponent activates a spell card or effect, you banish 1 card from your hand or field. Negate the activation if you do banish that card. If this card is the owner's possession, is destroyed by an opponent's card effect, you target one of your banished mutant traps and add it to your hand. So obviously, Beast lets you negate a spell. I believe it's Arsenal lets you... Arsenal, when your opponent activates a monster effect, you banish 1 card from your hand or field, target 1 monster on the field and banish it. So it doesn't negate, but it does let you interrupt. And then I think the one that a lot of people didn't play was Mist. Now, Mist was when your opponent activates a trap card, you banish 1 card from your hand or field to draw 2 cards. Now, these are all level 8 monsters, so you didn't want to flood them. You flood your deck down with them. The fact that they required you to banish meant you needed to maintain resource. So keep in mind as well that even if you normal summoned the little monster, you start off with 5 cards in your hand, right? You normal summon the little monster, you then banish 1 card from your hand. You're down to 3 cards already, hoping that none of this gets stopped. The boss monster you put on the board then banishes another one, leaving you with 2 cards. You have 2 cards left to play with. Now, yes, keep in mind that if you normal one of the little guys, you get to gain back. So you've got 3 cards to play with. But if one of those is like a fusion spell, you need one of them to be the fusion spell, the field spell, something like that for consistency. So I think that's the key, in my opinion, is that they are missing consistency. Their boss monsters are strong enough, like attack and defense-wise. Their fusion monsters are strong enough. They just need to be able to not burn through as many resource. So in my opinion, if I was to give them a mutant card, they need like a free summon. They need a free summon that doesn't require banishing, that's going to search your cards, or they need a draw card. They need a card that's on the level of put a beast back or put a level 8 mutant back, draw multiple cards. Now, they kind of have that is during the Mutant Evolution Lab, which is the field spell, during your main phase, you place a mutant monster from your hand onto the bottom of the deck, and if you do, draw 1 card. Now, again, that's good. Not quite good enough, in my opinion. Like, it needed to be draw 2 cards. You needed to be able to gain advantage from what you were doing. And I think that's the one big thing, in my opinion, is the mutants lack gaining a form of advantage. That's where you need to use stuff like Extravagance. You need to use Desires. But because you're playing one of your level 8s, you're playing a risky game. So I know it's very difficult to say don't give them a draw card. But like even their fusion spell, I think it's their fusion spell or their fusion trap, lets them fuse from the banished zone or the grave. So mutant fusion summon 1 mutant monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your hand or field. If your opponent has activated a card or effect this turn, you can use up to 1 monster each from your deck and grave as fusion material. So they've pretty much got that covered. And then the trap card, I believe, Mutant Cry, lets you fusion summon.
Trap card, yeah.
Yeah. So you fusion summon a monster from your extra deck by shuffling the fusion materials listed on it into the deck from among cards on your field, in your graveyard, and or banished. So you recycle your materials, which is great, but you're still not getting that hand advantage. They still need a card that is going to let them at least +1. They need to maintain that advantage if they want to be able to set up their traps, if they want to set up their fusion plays. So in my opinion, they need an advantage card. I don't know what it could be. I don't know if it could be a draw card that draws 2, but then you're going down the pot of greed route. It gets very difficult. or they need a card like S-Force got, which was a trap card that said if you were to banish a card from the field and or hand to activate the effect, you can banish this card from the graveyard instead. I think a replacement might be a better option to maintain your resource, because then not only are you not banishing the monster on the field, but you're also not banishing the monster in the hand, even though you want to banish stuff, but you still get to put that trap card or that spell card that you've already used and banish it. So that on top of that allows you to maintain your resource in the hand. It also sets up your banish zone with your mutant spells and traps and gets you to go from there. Now, I don't know how familiar you two are with the mutants, or if you have anything to kind of lend on that, but I suppose like the thing you need to look at is either an advantage card or a card that utilizes and helps cards that want to banish stuff.
Personally, I was just trying to look at the trivia of my mutants, just to see what they've covered from the Stranger Things lore. I can't find trivia anywhere on the internet. Like, I don't know what they've done, but so personally, I feel like a boss monster could fix a lot of the problems, because like they have, I don't know if you covered it, but I don't know if they have any form of really good disruptions, because they do seem like a go first deck, but can also go second. So if you gave them a new fusion monster, that I don't know if you can base it on anything to do with Stranger Things, because I think they kind of covered the big final boss that Stranger Things had, but we are getting a new season anyway. If you gave them a new fusion that they can go into that says like shuffle things back or lets you recycle and disrupt, then it could probably fix a lot of things, but like maybe their own e-telly, that kind of thing, maybe that might work. But it's because they got the core there. They just need like one more thing just to speed them up a little bit more. Something that allows them to play through a disruption and get something on board. But I feel like if something does like extra deck stuff, the main deck is already there. Give them a new target to that can either help the main deck, or can just be a form of disruption boss monster. So to me personally, I say give them an infusion to go into that either disrupts or recycles or does both.
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head, actually. I think giving them their own e-telly that lets them special summon any mutant from the hand or deck, or maybe if they say, maybe even not from the deck, maybe from hand or banish zone, could be what they need, because then they get that resource that they banish back. So even if they want to banish their stuff, like that's one issue with it, is all their cards say you want to banish stuff, you want to shuffle your banished stuff back in. So maybe an e-telly card that literally says special summon one of your banished mutants or a mutant from your hand lets them gain the material they've just banished back. And if they're banishing one of their big boss monsters, they can bring that boss monster back onto the board. And I think the one difficult thing was that the deck could never really get two of their boss monsters that weren't the fusion monsters onto the board. Now, obviously, the trap card is there to fusion summon their boss monsters, and when you fusion summon the lower level boss monster, it pops a card on the field. And their bigger boss monster lets you banish a spell, trap, or monster from the graveyard to negate the activation of an effect and destroy it or banish it. So being able to get your two boss monsters back onto the board, or two of the level 8s back on the board, use their effects to banish a material from the hand, banish a material from the grave, whatever, and then fuse with them, allows the deck to go from one disruption to 2, maybe 3 disruptions. And considering their disruptions are so specific in the sense that you can negate a spell or you can banish a monster. It's not like you can negate a spell, a trap, or a monster. It's you get to negate a card, you get to banish a card, and then when you make the fusion, you get to pop a card. So they're giving you 3 interruptions, which, in my opinion, because they're so specific, they're not exactly hard to play around either. Donald, do you have anything to add to the mutants in general, or?
So what I wanted to consider adding was to give something like Altergeist Protocol, where but arguably you activate it. I was considering more of the fact that it's a continuous spell. You activate it, you add. I don't know. Like, I was thinking something like Mutant Fusion, but then so first off, a continuous spell where it allows you to just make your cards can't be negated. And it's just a simpler sense. But then I thought of another card as to like a second mutant fusion where depending on what I guess card types are in your opponent's graveyard, you can then use that up to that many monsters from your deck and banish them from your deck to summon your fusion monster. So it's something like if for each different card types that are in your opponent's graveyard, you can then use that up to that many, like up to maximum of 3 to then spell trap, monster spell trap, and then use that up to that many monsters from your deck as material. Oh, and you like banish them from your deck, and then it allows you to then just basically in another Shadow Fusion-esque type of card, where if your opponent has done something, it allows you to gain advantage as a result. Arguably, with these cards, you would preferably go first. So it's the sort of thing where you're like you could argue that maybe if you've banished card types from your own deck, then or you had to do something where it relies with your deck to then then summon out the fusion a bit more accessible, it would be a thing. But yeah, it was just those two picks really. But yeah, I can understand that the fusion card is more of like you're going second build, but these are sort of turn one, so maybe the sort of whole idea of you activate it makes your cards can't be negated, but and also just grab you something to then maybe play. So even despite it being a 1-for-1, but just having that protection is really good.
Yeah, I like that idea as well. I like the idea of kind of like a protocol in a sense that maybe you need to pay a cost. So maybe you need to banish a card because they like banishing their stuff. So maybe you need to banish a card, and for the rest of this turn or until the end of your opponent's turn, your mutant monster's effects can't be negated. Because then I think that allows you to go, right, okay, well, I don't mind paying the cost now. I'm paying 3 cards rather than 2 cards, but by paying that cost already, the maintenance cost at the start, I'm able to continue to make my plays without getting ash, because they're not putting out a double negate board. They're putting out like they put out a beast, so I can only negate a spell, or I'm putting out a monster that lets me banish one of your monsters. So they're not exactly giving themselves like, oh, here you have an Appaloosa for free, or here have a make sure your multi-figure always goes through. So yeah, I think the protocol one could be a really cool one. Okay, now the toughest one of all. Now the biggest pile of shiny ever. War Rocks. What were you thinking, Konami? What the is this?
Let's make Ancient Gears, but worse.
I was going to say Gladiator Beast.
It just like most of the effects kind of make sense to me, but then there's 2 clauses on both of their effect. Like I'm just gonna get I can pull out any War Rock. So raw, and the worst thing is the spell card they got in Lightning Overdrive. I actually really like. I'll try and find it in a minute. Which one did they get that I liked? Of course, it
While you're looking at that, I just want to point out 2 things for the Premier Pack. One, the other archetype I was talking about is Materia Actor, the 2 only card archetype. But they are apparently also getting Blue Eyes support and Dark Magician support, which is, according to this list, the Magician's Salvation, the field spell, Piercing the Darkness, and True Light. But the way that this site has listed them within the set, like in the set order, there is a card in between Piercing the Darkness and True Light. So 1 more Blue Eyes card, maybe?
Yes.
Because it's the 2 DM cards, a blank, and then a Blue Eyes card.
Yeah.
So
we get those 3 in the tins, and I think they get the new Dark Magician set the end of this year, whereas we don't get it until the start of next year. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they got another Blue Eyes card. I don't think it will be exclusive to them. I think they might sneak it into the tins as well. But like, let's be honest, Blue Eyes just got given an Eternal Soul, which is worse than Eternal Soul. So hopefully they get a Blue Eyes which is decent. Anyway, so the War Rock
I just
spell,
want fusion stuff.
the War Rock spell, which I thought is really good. Like if this card was in any other deck, so you must control a War Rock monster to activate either of these effects. When a monster your opponent controls activates this effect, negate that effect. Really cool. During the battle phase, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card or monster effect, negate that effect. So, fine. All right. I kind of like that. Good card. Now, if you hadn't guessed, it's all about the battle phase. Typical. I'm just going to pick one War Rock card. Let's pick one of their boss monsters, shall we? Where we go. Let's go with the most recent one that got given a secret. So, can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. When an attack is declared involving this monster, you can negate the effect of that opponent's monster during next turn. Also, activate effects and effects of monsters with the same original name as that monster. Once per turn during a battle phase. Now, keep in mind, this is actually quite interesting. If they all say during a battle phase, which your Earth Warrior monster battles, quick effect, you may all War Rock monsters you control gain 200 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. Also, this card can make up 2 attacks on a monster during battle phase. Now, let's have a look at Basilios. Does it say A as well? During a battle phase, while your Earth Warrior monster battles, quick effect, you activate this effect. This card can attack directly this turn. War Rock monsters you control gain 200 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. While this card is in your hand or graveyard, when your Earth monster is destroyed by battle, special on this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Skylar is during a battle phase. So rather than saying during the battle phase, which I think is quite interesting, it says during a battle phase. Now, the card that I would give this deck that it needs, rather than the card that says it's always the battle phase, is they need a card that lets them go in and then back out and then back into the battle phase. Or, like the Valkyries have, they need a card that gives them 2 battle phases. Now, the reason they need that...
They need Mischief of the Time Goddess.
Exactly that.
Which gives you 2 battle phases.
Exactly that. So, again, it can be Mischief of the Time Goddess. It literally just says you can only... you have to control only War Rocks or you have to control Earth Warriors. The issue with this deck is it wants to go second. Like, literally everything else relies on a battle phase. Everything it does relies on a battle phase. They've got no defensive route go first, apart from normal summon a War Rock, set the spell, and hope that one negate gets them through. So, the field spell's pretty cool. Gactus is pretty cool. I think I've already kind of explained what I think this deck needs. This deck needs a card that lets them have 2 battle phases in a turn. Because their 1 battle phase isn't enough for them to OTK. They need 2 in order to do it. They are on the same attack level, or in my opinion, as the Valkyries. The issue is Valkyries give them 2 turns, so they get an additional draw. What this deck needs is it needs 2 battle phases. Doesn't need an additional draw because they can normal summon, do something in the battle phase. They don't even need to attack sometimes. So they do something in the battle phase, then they get the chance to repeat the battle phase. So, and I think if they do it right, rather than it going an end phase, I can't remember what Mischief of the Time Goddess does off the top of my head, but like, all they need is a card that says...
So Mischief skips the entire turn back to the battle phase. So you don't get 2 draws. So you don't get another draw phase, standby phase, main phase 1. You do your battle phase, you play Mischief, and then it skips all the way back to the start of your next battle phase. So you can attack it directly again. You can get your main phase 2, but then because it's still technically a new turn, all of your effects can activate again. So, like, if you had any once per turn effects, you can never use it.
Do it again. So I mean, like, that's the exact thing that this deck needs, because it relies so heavily on the battle phase. All of their effects go off in the battle phase. So it needs so much build up to get that to resolve that even if it says like a card that literally says after your battle phase or after main phase 2, rather than going to the end phase, your end phase can become a battle phase. And then, because then literally that battle phase ends, that ends your turns. You don't get another main phase 2. You just get to go for a second battle phase. So you go main phase 2,
cool.
And then your end phase becomes your battle phase. And the battle phase ends the turn there. So once the battle phase ends, that's it, turns over. And I think that lets you loop it around. It could be something quite unique. I don't know if it's actually something that's logical or playable, but I think of any card out of the premium set, I'm actually more excited to see what the War Rocks can get. I don't think it's going to be amazing, but it would be interesting to see what they can get. I don't know if I'll let you guys talk about it, but I don't know if there's anything more you could say apart from a deck that says it needs a battle phase than anything more than saying it can have 2 battle phases.
Nothing from my side. Honestly, yeah, it just
Yeah,
comes
no,
up
I agree. I like the idea. Yeah.
like it just, yeah, admittedly, like it just feels out. In all fairness, it feels outdated. But I get that the whole gimmick is that it's a Warrock, so what Warrocks are, they're like a battle orientated deck. So obviously everything's in the battle phase, for Warriors and that. Like it would have been interesting if they gained more of 200 like for each monster you controlled, so they sort of like rallied together rather than just 200 attack, and then that was it. Like if it was 200 per like War Rocks, it might have been a bit more visible, but even still, like the fact that you committing everything to the battle phase is very awkward on that, really. Yeah, I can't really say much more other than giving it a second battle phase. Yeah.
So the other disappointing thing is they've got 2 traps. I think they might have more traps, but these trap cards should have literally been like should have been able to work like imperm and evenly. So the first one they got is War Rot Generation. During the battle phase, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, special summon a War Rot monster from your deck. And if you activate this card during your opponent's turn, for the rest of this turn, while you control the face-up special summon monster, your opponent cannot attack except to attack that monster. So if this card was literally like, if you only control Earth Warriors, or if you only control War Rocks, you can activate this card from the hand. It then speeds the deck up a bit. And the other one is War Rock Big Blow. During the main phase, if a face-up War Rock monster or monsters you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, which they all have this effect, and I hate these effects, destroy up to 2 cards your opponent controls. So the fact that it says by a card effect means that you can't just ram them in battle, which they all want to be playing battle anyway. So the idea again is just a card that you could drop from hand. I think it just gives it a little bit more utility. And I think like Far did a duel with this, and it was this versus a goat deck, and it lost to a goat deck. It couldn't beat goats. But that's how bad this deck is. The artworks were kind of cool. It kind of gave, like, I love the whole, like, not really, well, kind of Viking-ish, but it was probably more like Ice Age and cavemen battles levels. But it just never lived up to it. Really didn't. Like, the artwork, it's one of them ones where the artwork is just like 100 times better than the actual cards. And I want the OCG to prove us wrong. I want the OCG to give us the most broken card we've ever seen. But because they've put it specifically in a War Rot deck, it just makes them playable rather than tier 0. I don't think there's a card you could give this deck that makes them tier 0, apart from a card that literally says it's always the battle phase. But then that kind of goes against game mechanics in the sense that, like, okay, so what do I do? Like, I can normal summon my monsters during the battle phase. I can do this during the battle phase. I think there's a lot to be desired with this, and I'm not too sure if one card would change this, but if they do find the right card, like giving them 2 battle phases, it might make these slightly playable. Anyway, I think that is it for our TCG exclusive section. We've kind of gone over the premium pack. We've still got to review the Megatins, and we are getting on to nearly a 2-hour episode, and we are recording this very late at night. So we're going to jump straight into our main phase 2. We're going to touch on the Megatins because we still have a lot to be revealed, and we'll get onto those shortly. So let's move into our main phase 2. So main phase 2, Megatins 2021. I'm going to try and burn through this as quickly as I possibly can. We already know 4 confirmed cards. The 4 confirmed cards are, as Joe mentioned earlier, there's 3 TCG exclusives, 2 Dark Magician cards, 1 official Dark Magician card, 1 card that doesn't list Dark Magician, and 1 Blue Eyes card. And we also know that Zeus is reprinted as an ultra rare. Now, the 3 exclusive cards, one of them is a field spell for Dark Magician that when you activate it, you get to set Eternal Soul directly from your deck. And then if you normal or special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Gale, you can special summon the other one, Dark Magician or Dark Magician Gale, from the graveyard. The Blue Eyes card is basically an Eternal Soul, which lets you revive a Blue Eyes, but if it gets destroyed, you lose your entire board. We've been here before. Now, the tins contain 3 Prismatic Secrets, 6 Ultra Rares, 6 Super Rares, 3 Rares, 36 Commons. So obviously 1 secret per pack, you get 3 packs, and you kind of go from there. Oh, it does actually say it only has 3 brand new World Premiere cards. So if the OCG do get a new Blue Eyes card, we're not going to see it for like ever. That's one thing that I didn't mention with the OCG exclusives, is when the OCG get the brand new card, we don't see it for like a year. Now, the tin, I'm just trying to see where it lists what the tin contains. Here you go. So it contains cards from Ignition Assault, Eternity Code, Rise of the Duelist, Phantom Rage, and it says and more. Now, in the past 2 tins, what they've put in is they've put in one of the side sets.
Secret Slayers is the other one.
There you go. So Secret Slayers, for those that don't know, had the Reekers, the Eldritch, and it had Adamancipators in. So we're probably going to see all of those get reprinted, and they usually get reprinted at low rarities, like no higher than an Ultra, I believe, from what we've seen of those. I'm going to quickly breeze over the cards that we know of notice are in particular sets. Ignition Assault introduced us to At-Ignistas, which have regained a bit of popularity. It also has Lightning Storm, but that's just had a reprint, but could very well become the new part of Extravagance and get a Prismatic Secret reprint. Eternity Code was probably one of the best sets of the year, so that brought us Ghost Mourner and Chill. It also gave us Access Code, which we all hope is in this set, as well as some more Ignista cards, I believe. And then we've got Rise of the Duelist, which again was one of the best sets of the year. Introduced us to Triple Tactical Talents, Forbidden Droplet, Dogmaticas, and then Phantom Rage introduced us to Zeus and Scales, so more Phantom Knight support, as well as the Tri-Brigade first line of support as well. So that's where your Fractal's coming from, which hit about 25 quid. So you can kind of see already that they're bringing out some very big sets. I think this past year, while we've been in lockdown, these have been some of the best sets we've ever had. And some of the cards that people are wanting massively are Access Code, because it's a £100 card right now, and this will definitely make it plummet. Nadir's Servant for the Dogmaticas, alongside the Dogmaticas themselves, as well as Fallen of Albaz. And then you look at other stuff as well. Another Lightning Storm reprint can't be bad because they're already 25 as an Ultra. And then Phantom Rage to give everyone the access to the Tri-Brigades. And keeping in mind with sets like this, they usually mess around with the rarities. So you could probably see, as you've already seen, the Secrets usually drop down to an Ultra. The Ultras usually go up to a Prismatic Secret. And sometimes they change that around. So you could be seeing Ultra Rare Nadir Servants, Ultra Rare Access Code, Secret Rare Dogmatica Ecclesias, Secret Rare Fractals, as well as Ultra Rare Lightning Storms. And then you get some rarity shifts of the Ignistas. So you'll probably get a couple of Ultras and Supers. You'll probably get a couple of Ultras being upgraded to Secrets and a couple of Supers being upgraded to Secrets, Ultras, whatever. So the tins...
No.
The tins are due out on the 1st of October. The date keeps getting moved back, keeps getting shifted. They do retail at about $20 a tin, and the tin does connect with the previous year's tin because the idea is that 2022, the tin stacked together to form like a tablet, and the tablet, obviously, the designs on this one is it's got the tablet versions of Blue Eyes versus Dark Magician. Very kind of cool set. I'm looking forward to this tin. I don't think it has the promos or the exclusives that the previous 2 tins have had. I don't think that the Dark Magician and Blue Eyes are on the same level as the one we had. Well, it's not on the same level as Dragoon, but they're on the same level as the other poor excuses for cards that we got. I think the Secret Slayers is one of the best side sets to be reprinted if that is the case, because you're getting Eldritch and you're also getting Adamancipators, which are both incredibly good decks in their own right. And then continuing that off as well, when you're looking at probably 2 of the best sets of the entire year that we've seen in Eternity Code, the ability to get Access Code, and then also the ability for most people to have Dogmaticas. I think this could be one of the best tins for reprints that we've seen in a very long time, even though the promos aren't really up to scratch. So in my opinion, definitely worth getting. These are some of the cards that I've already mentioned, the expensive cards that I expect to see in here. And if you don't like droplets, all right, I can understand if it's not in there. Lightning Storm, I can understand if it's not in there. But there's no excuse not to put access code in here. There's no excuse not to put Nadir's Servant in here. There's no excuse not to put Fractal in here at the very least as well, because you're trying to give access to all of these cards to people. Keeping in mind as well that I believe, I don't know if it tells me how big the set is. I think it's usually like a 100 card set or more, something like that. So you can expect that there's going to be a lot of cards in this set, and it's going to be interesting to see what we kind of get from this. So I'm just going to have a quick look if we've got any more information. No. So there's not more information. This is due out on the 1st of October. It was originally the end of September, which is why we've done it now. And obviously it breaks onto the 1st of October, and we thought this would be a good review. So just so we can keep this moving, Donald, give me 3 cards that you want to see from the Mega Tins that you would be excited to get a hold of, and we'll kind of work it from there.
First one that comes to mind is Chamber Dragon Maid, sitting at I was looking at these earlier, 40 minimum 40 to 45 euros. Like, yeah, a pricey card. Access code by that, that's generic. Everyone wants that. I was also going to point out Anime Adorned Archosaur for the Dino and Gravedigger's Trap Hole, just to get to reduce the price. But when you were talking about rarity bumps, it just completely bypassed me. But Medoche Salon and Promenade could get a Prismatic Secret. I'm just like, oh my god. Yeah, Medoche support, rarity bumps. That's it for me. Joe?
Sorry. For me, they've already done me dirty because they put Dark Templar at Ignista as a common because we've already had spoilers, and they're just all common. And my rarity so mad that my personal bias is obviously I want the access code reprint because I'd like to actually have one for a Code Talker deck or just generic support, whatever. I'd actually like to see at least Buru at Ignista, the tuner, upgraded to a super to at least be a holographic with the others. Doesn't have to be ultra. The super would just be fine for me personally. In terms of the higher ones, if I don't include the access because that's obvious, I'd actually like to see the Adamantipator Researcher as super rare, just because that's the only thing really stopping that deck from being budget. So I'd actually like to have that more accessible so I can play my fossil deck more on a budget. And also Ice Dragon's Prison. I'd like to see a reprint on that because I believe that's in this set, or could be in this set because it's in one of the sets. Because that's a really good, nice kind of staple side deck card. And so I'd like to see that be a bit more budget again, like it used to be.
Yeah, I completely forgot how good Eternity Code was. So, obviously, Ice Dragon Prison. There's also Shadol Schism, which was in Return of the Duelist, which, when you look at these ultra-rare cards and they're all 30, 40 quids, the one thing that tin is going to guarantee is the tin will guarantee it will crash those cards. Like, you can buy a case of tins for about 100 to 150 pound. Straight away, if you pull a single access code, you're crashing the market that are 100 pound. And that's one access code. Even if they make access codes a Prismatic Secret, which I'll be disappointed if they do, but each tin comes with 2 ultra rares. So if it does make it an ultra rare, then you're still going through, I think it was six ultras a tin. So you get three secrets a tin times 12. So you get 36 secrets out of a case, and you'll get 72 ultras out of a case. So you've still got a very good chance of getting what you need. And it will definitely, if the cash cards of stuff like Triple Tactical Talents, Lightning Storms, Droplets, Access Code, considering you only need one access code, all of the prices will plummet. Now, the original secrets won't, but the ultra rares will be cheaper to get. And then the cards that are being upgraded from ultra to Prismatic Secrets, all those that have the ultras will want to be trading up for the secrets if they care about rarity. If they care about addition, then they're not going to touch them. So it means that there's just going to be so much more in circulation. It's going to be so much easier to get the cards, that the tins is always one of the best products of the year. Because I think the smartest thing Konami has done is mess around with the rarities as well. Because by messing around with the rarities, it gets those that have already got the cards to get the tins. Like in the past, you would buy the tins for the promos. Now they've dirtily put the promos within the tins. They're harder to get. Luckily, the promos aren't on the level of Dark Ruler No More and Nibiru or Dragoon. But you're still going to buy. People are still going to buy it for the promos. But on top of that, because they mix the rarities around, for those of you, for the people that want max rarities, they're going to go in for the upgrades. They're going to buy the product more. Like in the past, you'd probably go, right, I'll buy 1 or 2 tins because I've already got what I need. But now you're like, I'm going to buy more tins because not only can I get cards that I've already got, but rarity upgrade them, but I can also get cards that I don't have and promos. So definitely one of the best sets of the year. Not to mention that this comes out on the 1st of October. Following that up, we end up getting a Gold Series 2 in the same year. We get a El Dorado 2. We get a Hidden Arsenal Season 1, which has been confirmed that they're bringing back dual terminals, which is going to be interesting. And then we also get a Battles of Legend as well. So we get a brand new Battles of Legend, which has already got a confirmation of a reprint of droplets in. So it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. Anyway, as we said, we are going to try and wrap this up. So we're going to jump straight to our end phase and go from there. So thank you so much to every single one of you listening away, watching at home. And if you took this with you and listened to it in installments or all in one go, thank you so much for supporting us. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are watching on there. Please follow us on the iTunes, Podomatic or Spotify so you do not miss out when we bring a new episode monthly. And we try to bring it out at the last Sunday of the month as well. Thank you so much to Joe and Donald for this late night recording. I hope you have enjoyed this. We do apologise for the technical drops in and out of Joe's, but hopefully it'll be crystal clear to understand in the recording as well. As absolutely always, guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay safe, and of course,
happy dueling.
Looking to pick up your very own custom sleeves? Well, look no further. Go to yourplaymat.com where you can choose to have your very own image on the back of sleeves, or you can choose from their amazing range of pre-designed artwork ready and waiting for you. Get them shipped directly to your door and use the affiliate link and discount code down below to get 10% off. What are you waiting for? Go and grab your custom sleeves from yourplaymat.com.